Hello everyone, it's Shannon here for Pink Fresh Studio. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 3 different card designs that combine the new Joyful Bouquet Washi Tape and the Joyful Bouquet Stamp Set. I really love how these products play together, and these card designs will help you to stretch them and get the most out of your supplies. Let's take a quick look at the Joyful Bouquet Washi Tape, Stamp Set, and Die. So here is the tape here, a nice big thick roll, beautiful colors. Behind there you can see the stamp set. I love the stamp set because it gives you so many options. It works with the washi tape of course, but you can also stamp those flowers, color them, and use them completely independently of the washi tape. And then there is the matching die that lines up perfectly with the washi tape and that stamp, the images on the stamp set. So I'm going to just unroll a long section here from the washi tape. This is actually your kind of standard section because it lines up perfectly with the matching die. I'm going to grab my scissors here, just trim it off and make sure it's all nice and pressed onto my white cardstock, and then I'll grab the die and just line it up. And this cardstock is your standard 4 1/4 by 11, so I just took a regular piece of cardstock and then just trimmed it or cut it right down the middle. I used a couple pieces of Micropore Tape to hold the die in place and then ran it through my die cutting machine, and now I have all those washi tape die cuts ready to go. Here is the stamp set. I'm going to remove that one stamp that has all the images, pop it inside my MISTI. It just barely fits, and I'm going to stamp this sheet of pink cardstock in Ballet Slipper, a really nice tone-on-tone, really light color. I'm going to stamp it actually 3 times just to make it a little bolder, a little bit more intense, and I'm going to use these images to really complement some of my washi tape images. So now that I've stamped that panel, I'll then grab a second panel and just repeat that process, again stamping it 3 times, and now I have 2 panels of my images. Again, I'll grab that matching die, and you can see it also lines up perfectly with the stamp set, and then just use a couple pieces of Micropore Tape to hold it in place, ran it through my die cut machine, and die cut both of those panels so I have all my die cuts ready to go. Now before we can really start assembling cards, I do need to stamp one more panel. I have a small panel of pink cardstock here that I'm going to stamp with the stamp set, but the way I'm going to angle the stamp set, it kind of goes beyond the well of the MISTI, so I do need to kind of rig up my MISTI here for big stamps. So I grabbed a couple pieces of painter's tape, taped my MISTI down to my work surface so it won't move. Now I'm going to tape my panel of pink cardstock down onto my work surface, arrange my stamp the way I want it, pick it up, and now I can ink it up and stamp it. And this just allows me to stamp beyond the well of my MISTI, which would have been difficult to do at that angle. I'm now just again inking it up 3 times and stamping it with that Ballet Slipper. So now that I've stamped that one half, I'm going to now repeat the process for the other side, again kind of changing the orientation of my stamp and my paper so I can get that angle right and also get it to fit on the lid. Picked it up with my lid, and then again I'm going to stamp it 3 times in that Ballet Slipper to get a nice bold image. And here is that finished panel. This will really complement those washi designs. It's nice and subtle, that won't take away, but really adds a little bit more texture. So I'm going to add some adhesive to the back side of this and add it to the upper half of a white A2 top folding card base. Now that I've got that stuck, I'm going to go and stamp my sentiment. This sentiment is also from the Joyful Bouquet Stamp Set. I'm heat embossing it, so I did apply some anti-static powder, then inked it up with Versamark ink, and now I'll just dip it into my gold embossing powder and then heat set, of course, with my heat tool. After I heat set this, I'm pretty much ready to wrap this first card up. I have these 4 die cuts here of that washi tape, and I've added some foam adhesive to the back side, and now all I have left to do is just kind of remove the backing and stick them down to the card front right along that edge of the pink panel. This just be a nice way to kind of clean up that edge, tidy it up a little bit, but add that beautiful shine and texture from that washi tape. And once I get those die cuts down, this card is complete. We'll now move on to our second card. For this card, I started with a pink panel that's slightly smaller than an A2 panel. It's 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I've arranged the large floral bouquet that I stamped, and also cut out of the washi tape. And once I get that flower, that floral bouquet in the right spot on the panel, I'll then grab a pair of scissors and trim off the excess. I don't want the flowers to extend beyond the panel, but I'm going to save a little bit of that bit that I trimmed and place it on the left side of the panel. And now that I've got kind of my die cuts in the right spot, I'm going to go ahead and glue them down with some liquid glue, starting with the large one on the right, and then I'll finish with that left one. I did grab the sentiment to kind of make sure I saved enough space on the front for that sentiment to go. And I'll stick that right or that left one down, and then I will trim just a tiny bit of the overhang at top. So it was a great use of that stamped bouquet. Now I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment. Again, this sentiment is also from the Joyful Bouquet Stamp Set, and I am also going to heat emboss it. So I did apply some anti-static powder, stamped it in Versamark ink, and now I'm dipping it into my gold embossing powder. Quickly heat set that, and we're almost ready to wrap this card up. So we're plugging through these or chugging through these pretty easily. I'm going to add some adhesive to the back side of that panel, stick it down onto my card front, and because that panel is a little bit smaller than an A2, we have a nice beautiful white border. I'll grab my floral bouquet that I've created out of the washi tape. I've already added some foam adhesive to the back side. I'll just remove the backing on that and stick it onto my card front, and my second card is complete. Now moving on to my third and final card design. This one's a little bit different. I'm starting with an A2 top folding white card base that I've already adhered a pink A2 panel to the front of it. Now I'm going to arrange all the remaining pink die cuts, except for 2, to the front of this panel, and once I get that arrangement the way I like it, then I'll grab my liquid glue and start adhering those down. Once I have all those die cuts stuck down, I'll then pick up my card and actually start to trim off all the overhang of those die cuts. This again will create a nice subtle background with some texture. It almost reminds me of lace. Now I'm going to move on to my sentiment. Again, I grabbed a sentiment from the Joyful Bouquet Stamp Set. I'm going to heat emboss it, this time onto some white cardstock. So I did add some anti-static powder, stamped it in Versamark ink, dipped it into gold embossing powder heat set, and now I'm going to die cut it out with this die from the Essential Shaker Tags die set. Just kind of center it around the sentiment, run it through my die cutting machine, and I'll have this beautiful kind of rectangle with a little frame, which I think is really pretty. Now we're ready to basically bring this card together. I added some foam adhesive to the back side of my sentiment, and I'm using it also to kind of hold that little frame around the sentiment together as well. I've added some foam adhesive to the backside of these last 2 final washi tape flowers, stick them around my sentiment to kind of frame it, and this final card is done as well. I'll hold it up to the camera so hopefully you can get a better look at that background. It really does kind of remind me of lace, and I love you have texture not only from the stamped images, but you also have it from those images being die cut. Now here's our second card. Similar idea here where we stamped and then die cut, and we have a nice subtle background for that bouquet. And for this last card, we also stamped. This time we didn't die cut the images out, but we combined it with the washi tape border, and I think it looks really pretty with that white kind of contrast on the lower half. I hope you guys enjoyed today's cards and video. If you have any questions about the products I use, please check out the links below in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.